Good afternoon and welcome to Quick Connect for November 3rd, this election day. I want to thank you for joining us today. We have a great talk today. We're going to be talking about holiday marketing tips for small businesses. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us as we work through some holiday marketing tips, not only for retail businesses or B2B, B2C businesses, but we'll also be talking about some tips that can fit with all businesses, including B2B type businesses. So we'll get started in just a moment. I do want to mention that this webinar is being streamed live via Facebook, and therefore it's also being recorded. Again, today our guest is Ron Wagner, from the marketing guru and just overall an energetic and knowledgeable gentleman. He'll be joining us to give some great tips on holiday marketing. We'll get started by introducing him in just a moment, but first I want to introduce you to some of the services of the SBDC. If you've never joined the SBDC, or if this is your first time viewing in on some of our services, I'd like to introduce some of our, sorry, let me get my slides going correctly here. And I lost them. Well, just to kind of, not sure what happened to my slide deck there, but I would like to kind of give you guys an idea of what the SBDC does. Our services are free, confidential, one-on-one consulting services. That's one of our specialties. We help businesses start, grow, and prosper. We also offer information type services and training sessions, as well as resources for small businesses and referrals to businesses. So if you're a small business in the area and you're looking to get started or grow your business, or even just take your business to the next level, we are here for you, and you can definitely reach out to us. I'll be putting in some resources for that towards the end of the webinar. But I'd like to start now by introducing our special guest speaker, Ron Wagner. Ron, can you go ahead and join us? Thank you for coming today. Can you start by just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what your background is?
Happy to do so, Elizabeth. Thank you for the invitation. I like to say that I'm a Philly kid who made good. I grew up decidedly middle class in Northeast Philadelphia. Parents worked many jobs to put me and my siblings through Catholic grade school and high school, and always wanted to go to Penn State. I was the first in my family to go to college. Worked about 30 hours a week to help pay for tuition, cover expenses, and through force of will, created my own internship with GMAC Financial Services, and that led to a good 18-year run. Growing a career, becoming the VP of Marketing and Brand Development for their retail lending channel for their home finance business. And then got recruited away in 2009 to another G organization, GE Modular Space. And I was tasked with kind of building the brand, transforming digitally, leading customer experience, getting involved into search marketing, and a couple times leading sales as well. And did my job so well that our chief rival couldn't beat us, so they bought us, and they always retire the management team when they do so. So what I've been doing since then is helping another 50-year-old professional services firm kind of transform their marketing, getting into the digital space, getting into search. And while doing that, I'm also helping young professionals and growing businesses on the side who want to build a good foundation for personal and corporate brand success. So that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully that's quick enough and good enough for the group.
Yeah, well, we can tell you're a Penn State fan as well. That's apparent by your background. So, and you know, since we're the Penn State SBDC, we appreciate that.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for joining us. And it's obvious that your experience has led you down a path that speaks volumes into this talk today. In the audience of small businesses that we're addressing. Many of our small businesses joining us on the talk today have probably made some holiday marketing plans, as you alluded to, even just before we got on. But can you start with some basics that might kind of bring things home or tie things together for businesses as they start to think about, you know, what this year might look like or look differently than other years in marketing your small business?
Yeah, that's this year's different. That's for darn sure. So some of the things I'll talk about are very good for the holiday season, but no pun intended here. I think these are some evergreen tips to share. And one of the things that that I've kind of often bristled at or laughed at is when people say small business. And for the people that have this small business, it's not a small business. It's a very large business to them. I mean, they pour their treasure, their family, their life, their passion into a business. This year, more than anything, I think people see budgets are tight and it's even riskier. And a lot of people are afraid to make mistakes with their marketing. So I think a couple quick primers for holiday marketing and extending past the holidays. Number one, it's very difficult to outspend bigger competitors. So don't go into the season thinking you need to outspend. Instead, what I like to say is outsmart your competition. Any marketer or business can spend a boatload of money. It takes someone really, I think, good to spend as little as possible. So number one, think about how you can outsmart your competition with your marketing. Secondly, don't think that you're not going to make mistakes. Beautiful thing about marketing is it gives you a lot of trial and error. You can measure the impact of email. You can try some social marketing to see what kind of engagement you get, or shares, or likes. You can do some simple pop-ups on your website to see if you can get people to sign up for a 10% discount. The good news is there are quick trial and error things. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think something else that's equally important. Don't think you have to do everything. You might be very overwhelmed with the decisions you make and think that you have to be in every aspect of marketing, TV, radio, paid search, search optimization. Don't confuse being very busy and active with being productive. Try things and focus on what you find works better for you. But the big thing is don't do nothing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's great.
Mhm.
As a business consultant, some of the things that I tell my clients all the time, and not just in reference to marketing, but it's take a look at your competitors, find out what they're doing, and then do it better. So that's just to your point, like outsmart them. I also like, that you're speaking into measuring your impact because, taking a look at how your email campaigns are going or how many people are actually clicking certain links, that's great feedback. It helps you develop a strategy around your marketing plan to make sure you're not, to your last point, doing everything or trying everything that, building a strategy is so important because small business owners, like you said, they're so busy and they have so much on their plate that, trying to wear all the hats is a lot. So if we can really manage it and take it down into a strategy and something very attainable, that's so much easier. So
And we can get into some of those little tactics a little bit later on.
yeah, great points. So great starting points. And I think a lot of small business owners do not give themselves the grace to acknowledge mistakes and to pivot. We've spoken a lot this year about COVID-19 and pivoting your businesses. Some business owners find that difficult because they want to stick to what's worked and it's hard to find new things. So what we need to understand about being a small business owner is that the connection is one of our greatest marketing tools, I think. Can you speak a little bit about building connection and how you do that through a brand?
I talk about, I always say that whether it's for yourself or for your business, you want to build a brand that people want. And building a brand that people want is really anchored in emotional connections. I tell stories of some of my most treasured friends right now. And these are people, 3 or 4 in particular, that I met very early in my career as I purchased business services, promotional products, ad agency, printing, digital services. Some of these people are my closest friends, and they've grown to be that way because when they provided services to me, they listened to me, they understood me, they transferred knowledge to me, they helped me solve problems, they made me smarter, they helped me make confident, empowered decisions. They provided their functional services, but they put me in a position to make a good decision. So I've trusted them. I've built emotional connections with them and their companies. And it gets to the point right now where I don't even bat an eye over their price tags because they're delivering value. I don't shop for the cheapest. I shop for the people that deliver the greatest value, people that help solve emotional problems and functional problems with their products. So I would think it's very important now, especially with small businesses, the people that own these small businesses, or as I say, growing businesses, have to be the embodiment of the brand. People want to know they're buying from or they're working with people that believe in their product, that stand behind it, and that understand what they're looking for as a customer. You don't get that from the big box. You don't get that from the Deloittes. You get that from people that are invested in their business. So I think first, to build a brand people want, invest in making strong emotional connections with your customers and proving that you understand them and can help them solve their problems.
Yeah, that's so great. And I've actually spoken to at least 3 clients in the past week where I have kind of taken their shoulders and said, no, you're the brand. You're the brand. I know you think you have this really great product, and you do, but people are going to buy into you more if you can just be authentic and real. So I really like that idea of the business owner who has a passion enough to start a business around something, needs to recognize that they are a brand in themselves, and that authenticity is going to help people really buy into the brand. So that's a really, really great tip. And so, say I decide to start a business and I've got a really great product, and I'm okay, I'll be the brand. How do I start to build a brand around myself or around my business?
Well, I think that the one thing, Elizabeth, is once you commit that you're going to launch a product or a service or a business, and you commit to forging those emotional ties with customers, you really have to get to, I think, what I call navel gazing. You got to stare at your belly button. You got to do some introspection, and you really got to look inwardly. So each time that I launched campaigns for the companies that I work for, or each time that you want to roll out a new product or service, most marketers ask themselves a series of questions to really help form the basis of their brand strategy. And a handful of those questions you really need to answer honestly are things like, what is my product? What does my product do? Who is my product for? What is the functional and the emotional buying triggers for that target audience? What problem does my product or service solve for them? What other choices do they have with their money other than mine? And what do I do that's relevant, different, and better than my competition? And the last question I always pose to myself and others is, tell me the single most important message that you need to communicate about your product or service. So if you answer those 8, 9, 10 questions and write them down, you've got the basis to then springboard into a strong communications platform, messaging strategy, and more importantly, brand differentiation strategy. That's the basis of really your go-to-market plans from there, kind of doing that navel gazing and that inward introspection.
Yeah, and I would like to know to anybody joining us either on our webinar through Zoom or live on Facebook, if you have any questions for Ron, you can drop those into the comments section or the chat section in Zoom. But also, if you're interested in kind of getting his list of questions, certainly reach out to the SBDC, get into a consultation with one of our consultants, and we can help you work through some of those connections. I really like this idea of introspection in order to build the brand. I think that and then answer those questions. I think a lot of times, we're just at a rush to throw things out there and not answer those questions before developing something. So I think that's a really, really key point. So I know this holiday season, a lot of small business owners are really trying to make that connection. One failure I've seen from a lot of clients is just doing whatever they can, as I mentioned, just to make a sale. What are your thoughts? Should we stretch ourselves into that direction, or what is some of the ideas of just trying to make a sale rather than really being strategic?
Yeah, there's it's kind of a question of, do you try to be all things to all people, or do you try to really go a mile deep and an inch wide and serve a target audience? So my daughter's starting her career in Pittsburgh. She's a couple months into her career after finishing her master's. She's in a little town called Shadyside. And she took me down a street called Walnut Street with a lot of cute shops. And she said, Dad, there's this 5 and 10 store that reminds me of the stuff you told me when you were growing up in the 70s. So we went there a couple months ago, and it was like an explosion of all my 70s kids' toys and wiffle balls and a lot of old candies. I didn't know what to buy first, so I bought nothing. There was just too many choices. So what I like to say is businesses need to focus on their Big Mac. And I say this because there was a sales director that worked for me that was located in Illinois. His next door neighbor worked for McDonald's, which was located in Oak Brook. And he tells me the story of them talking over some home improvements over the neighborhood fence between the properties. And my friend, the sales director, made a remark to his buddy. He said, geez, what the heck's with McDonald's stock price lately? And his friend answered, we forgot about our Big Mac. And it's simple, but it was pretty poignant in that he said, McDonald's is all about the burger and the fries. At the end of the day, we're about delivering burgers and fries, not healthy meals, not Shamrock Shakes, not apple pies, not the late night menus. When you think of McDonald's, it's burger and fries. And if you think about that, look at their commercials right now. Their commercials have intense visual close-ups of the burgers with ketchup dripping off the side and of the fries. So my message for really any business, but particularly the growing and the maturing businesses that we're talking about today, is think about what you do better than anyone else. Think about those singular reasons why people come to you for a product or service, and go deep with that. Concentrate your resources. If you have limited resources, focus them on where you make your money the most and what people seek you out for. So definitely inch wide, mile deep, focus resources. Don't forget about your Big Mac.
That's a great way to associate what we work on with a lot of our customers, the value proposition. And if you are a small business owner listening to this talk now and you're not really sure your value proposition, something that you can really articulate into 2 sentences. We bring the Big Mac. That's people come for the Big Mac. Something along those lines. If that's something that's difficult to articulate, definitely something we can work on together at the SBDC, but so important. And that's kind of just one of the basic tenets of making sure that you succeed as a small business owner.
Elizabeth,
One of the
I have a formula that I can follow as well. 3 key elements to developing that unique brand position statement. So that's something that if people are interested in, we can talk afterwards.
Yeah, no, that is great too. Just to shift gears maybe a little bit, we talked a lot about how businesses can position themselves to market a brand, really knowing their value proposition. But what about the relationship between the customers? And maybe how important is customer experience and customer service into marketing this year?
Oh my goodness. It's I spent a lot of time in the automotive industry around General Motors and GMAC Financial Services. And there's an experience that they call, when you're buying a car, being in the box. When you're buying a car in a dealership and you see your sales rep go up into that glass-walled office to have that discussion with the finance manager, whether they can do the deal for your price. And researchers show that's one of the most stressful experiences ever. People hate it. So process is every bit as important as product right now. And I say it for this reasons. There's a key piece of research I saw in Parenting magazine about 6-7 years ago that showed that the typical working adult has only 30 minutes of disposable time at the end of the day. And that assumes a 9-to-5 job with only a 20-minute commute each way. So that's Shangri-La. That doesn't exist. What I've learned is, because of that and other primary research I conducted, that speed, certainty, and simplicity are some of the biggest demandments that B2C and B2B buyers have of product or service providers. They have so little time in their day right now that if you ask them to invest more time and effort in searching, acquiring information, engaging you, and buying your product, they'll go to someone else who makes it more frictionless. So what I tell people is focus on either a great web experience, a great buying experience, a great info gathering experience that promises speed, certainty, and simplicity for your buyers. And should buyers have a problem with the product or service, and when it comes to customer service, what I've learned is that buyers don't care one whit about corporate processes and policies. They just need their problems solved quickly. So, my lasting point is that people will pay a lot more, not only for a great product, but a process that respects their time and gives them back more time in the day. Absolutely. Call it customer experience, call it ease of doing business, call it speed, certainty, and simplicity. Spend time working on the process of info gathering, web engagement, and buying. The more time you take out of it, the better for, I think, for building longer lasting, I think, retained customer relationships. I've found that to be the case.
I think that's a great tip. And as a busy mother, I really appreciate that, that you're speaking into the speed of the relationship between the customer and the business. And, I think it just goes back to that point too, that we spoke about at the very beginning of just looking at your competitors, see what they're doing, and then do it better, do it with better speed, do it with better certainty, do it with more simplicity. And that's a great way to just check yourself and see that you're doing those things. So I'm really impressed with all of these.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth.
No, no.
I'm going to share an example of someone that just focused on process. So I had a gentleman that worked for me at GE ModSpace that led my customer experience efforts. And when our brand was acquired and retired, he saw such a gap in the trucking and transport industry. And he saw that there was an opportunity to deliver a better product. So functionally, he could help haul buildings and cargo. But what he found is that very few are doing it with a great experience. He had a web-enabled tracker. He had professional attire for his drivers. He focused on having the best communications and problem resolution. All his trucks were polished and cleaned. He offered a service level guarantee of no surprises and no embarrassment, and came up with 3 or 4 core promises that if he didn't deliver X, Y, and Z. All of this sounds simple, but it was groundbreaking for trucking and transport. And he operates in the Mid-Atlantic region where we're at, but he has become the preferred provider for one of the biggest customers in the modular building industry in this area. All because none of the trucks rolling down the street and bringing cargo, but because the way he does it. So absolutely, just a perfect example there that's very real. It's someone that I'm working with and helping with their marketing right now, and he's just killing it.
That's nice. Yeah. And I thank you for all the examples, because I think, sometimes we have trouble taking what we hear and applying it to our businesses. So the examples are so helpful. Thank you for those. So we've talked about, having a good product, building a brand, making a process, and you really drove home speed, certainty, and simplicity. I love those tips. Now, what else can a business do to look at their marketing strategy?
Great point. I always say that traditional marketing is like mom's meatloaf. And if you watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives on the Food Channel with Guy Fieri, everyone says the food is like mom's cooking. It's comfort food. And the comfort food of traditional marketing is you produce a flyer or you hand out donut boxes with logos on it. But I think what's important in building the foundation for a marketing strategy is understanding that today's customers, both B2B and B2C, are very what I call DVM. They are digital, they are visual, and they are mobile. And I think that has to form the basis of your marketing. So if I can, expand on that a little bit, Elizabeth, just a couple key facts. Google has shown that we check our phones 93 times per day. I think that's a lie. I think I must have checked it at least 93 times the first few hours today. Secondly, mobile. 60% of all searches happen on a mobile phone. Almost 50% of all emails get deleted before they're opened. And the biggest source of media consumed on mobile is a video. So my takeaway there is that customers aren't sitting around waiting to be sold. They are further upstream searching, checking their phones, going on social channels, looking for videos on YouTube. So the business needs to shift from selling into helping customers buy. Now, what does that mean? That means create your own YouTube channel and do some product explainer videos. It means grabbing your Google My Business page, claiming it, getting some reviews that helps Google find you and put you on page one. It means having a good social marketing strategy where you can publish content on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, build a following. All of these things, no cost, and will be putting you where I think customer behaviors are and how they gather info and make their buying decisions. So I think the basis of any marketing strategy for any company, smaller, maturing, and big, has to be digital, visual, and mobile.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with you there, but this is something that can be kind of tough right now for small businesses to keep up with. Just the digital and I think it's been moving at the speed of light, right? Just keeping up with the content and making it look good. Do you have any tips on creating content and just nice looking content for businesses?
Yeah, I think content, if you think about some of the core things people are looking for, this is now we're in election season right now, and the Gallup poll organization is always, I think, associated with political, but they do a great body of research. What they have shown over the years is that there are kind of 4 or 5 key things that all B2B and B2C buyers look for. Number one, they want people to advise them, not dictate to them. They want knowledge transferred to them. They want to be put in a position where they can make the decision and they can be confident and empowered with that decision. And that they want total value, not the lowest rates. So all of that, as it leads to a content strategy, means don't always talk about your product, and be promotional. Talk about things that are important to them that help inform them, help them provide answers to questions, and eventually leads back to your product. So if your content strategy on a LinkedIn or a Facebook or with your e-marketing is about transferring your knowledge to help them better evaluate their choices, and you do it objectively, more often than not, that'll lead them back to you. That's been the hallmark of the social strategies that I've used over the past 10 years.
Thank you for that tip. And we actually have a question that came in, and maybe you could address this one. Give me just a second. I apologize for any of the delays or issues. I'm having a few technical difficulties on my end. But this is the question, and I'll just read it to you. How do you convince or work small business owners that are not tech savvy and aren't in this digital world? This is such a huge learning curve for some of them, and they just give up or they don't even try. But usually these businesses are also lacking the finances to invest in someone having them do that for you. So it's a lose-lose for them.
Wow, that is, I can only give you my perspective. So I've got 31 years in my career. Every day of it has been spent using my degree from Penn State in advertising, marketing, and communications. I am the furthest thing from being a technical marketing expert. But the way I look at it, Elizabeth, is I don't know how to build a car either, but I know how to get behind the wheel and get it from point A to B. So to me, you can get overwhelmed thinking about what you need to do with your website or e-marketing. There are such great, great tools out there for the uninitiated and kind of the novice digital marketers. Perfect example. You look at GoDaddy.com. You can easily get your own domain website for 17, 18 bucks. With that, you get e-marketing tools with it. With that, there are web builder platforms and templates that you can use. And you can get that too from a Constant Contact, and you can get that from, I think, Wix and other providers. So there are extremely low cost, build it yourself, templated approaches to websites. So that's number one, kind of building that web presence. And they build it in a way that's mobile first. So it's built for mobile optimization. I've used that personally over the years for things that I do on my own. But another thing that I think may touch on this question or answer this question, e-marketing. I've used Constant Contact for a number of years just to provide updates to my professional acquaintances, colleagues, and I even use it when I'm inviting people to my tailgates at every football game. It could not be easier. It is such an easy series of templates where you can upload a photo. You can the templates, and I'll explain to you. They have a special offer template. They have a newsletter template. They have a personal email template. And it's what they call WYSIWYG. It's what you see is what you get, and you build it. And you can easily upload a photo, attach a link, upload a document. It is really amazing how things like GoDaddy and Wix, HubSpot, and Constant Contact really allow the non-technical person to look like a technical wizard. So I don't want people to be overwhelmed thinking they need to spend scores of their budget on these third-party firms that could be charging $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Not at all. Not necessary these days to get yourself in the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip. I think one of the things that we see with our small business owners as well is, maybe you need to find someone to build your brand for you. Come up with a color scheme, come up with a logo, come up with some branding content, and then you just take that branding content and apply it to templates, as you said. I think
Can I say something also? You mentioned a great logos as well. There's a great website called 99 Designs where you log in and you can then put your logo design or business card design out for bid, and designers who accept the challenge will submit scores of designs for you to choose from, and it might cost you $100 to $150. That's another nimble, low-cost way to go. But a second way to go is for those that are engaged with the Small Business Development Center. They have access to Penn State. Go up to the College of Communications with visual arts and graphic design and advertising majors and PR majors. And geez, you could get junior or rising senior students that could say, I'd be thrilled to build a content strategy for you at very low cost. I'd be thrilled at very low cost to help you build a web presence and do it for you. You're helping them with experience, and you're getting yourself some very affordable services that get you in the game.
Absolutely, that's a great tip. And I know my husband and I in our small business just had an intern over the summer that helped us ramp up our social media. And even though he's no longer with us now, back in school, we have a strategy built by him that we can just continue to apply. And that's been really nice. So, part of the answer that I wanted to give as well is for small business owners, just start, because you can think about it and overthink it and feel like you're not qualified to do it, but just start. And then it gets easier the more you learn as you do, right?
The most difficult thing to do in getting started is getting started. And if you just break it down into bite-sized pieces, say just the logo or subscribe to a Constant Contact, You do one simple thing, and my goodness, now you're like, this is easy. I can't wait to do more tomorrow. And I can't wait to do more the next day. You couldn't be more right, Elizabeth. Just start and break it down and compartmentalize so that you don't get overwhelmed.
Yes. Well, we've been talking so much about so many great tips, from branding to customer experience to process. I think we have time for one more thought, and that's just any final tips. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but we are limited to an hour. And as you start maybe those final tips, I'll invite anybody who has any final questions, either on Facebook or in Zoom, to go ahead and ask those now, and we'll address them towards the end of the talk. So any final takeaways for this holiday marketing segment?
Yeah, there's I was thinking about and behind me I'm scrolling looking at a friend's website. It just hit me. There's a very good friend that I have that's about a year old in his business, and he's gotten into the apparel business to take on some of the giants, the Patagonias and the North Face. The company is Virgin Outdoor, Burgeon, Virgin Outdoor. They have done a great job with outsmart marketing. They have built a great social presence on Facebook and LinkedIn, and they've done a great job generating Google reviews and a very user-friendly, very engaging website. So I'd encourage everyone to take a look at that, on how a very small company in New Hampshire is really doing some good things. But as far as some key takeaways, I was thinking about that, and the things that I would say is, number one, and we touched on it last, don't get stuck doing nothing. Just do small things, and you build your momentum, and then your plan starts from there. Secondly, don't think you need to outspend. Focus on outsmarting. Third, absolutely look to LinkedIn. Build a features page for yourself. LinkedIn is a phenomenal place to amplify both B2C and B2C businesses and to share content. That's important. Stay focused on the Big Mac. Do what you know is the primary thing that drives your revenue and drives customer appeal and interest. And, look for those lower cost do-it-yourself platforms. Look to the GoDaddies, look to the Constant Contact, look to the Wix, and take advantage of lower cost resources that right now look every bit as great as going to the high-powered ad agencies or marketing firms. And don't be afraid to try things and fail and learn. All of these tools I mentioned give you great data. With Constant Contact, you get great email stats. You find out who's opening it. And once you find out who's opening it, now you know who to pick up the phone and call, because they're engaged now with your message.
Absolutely. Those are some really great tips. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here. And to the audience, I'd like to let you know that we're going to be dropping in some resources that Ron has kind of put together as a, some different links to things that we've discussed today, or that can be utilized as you move forward. So those are going to go into the Facebook comment section, as well as the Zoom chat box. So while those are being placed in for our viewers, let's move to the section that I like to call my rapid fire questions that I ask all our attendees on Quick Connect. So let's start with this. And we maybe just discussed this a little bit, but if you had one main takeaway from today, other than your tips that you just gave, what would it be?
I'd say the biggest thing is, and this is something that I've learned professionally in my career, and also personally as I really started to market myself. It becomes overwhelming and you don't know what to do first. And the biggest thing is, break things down in small pieces. What are the most basic things you need to do first to really begin marketing yourself? And for me, that would be, answer those 10 questions. You answer those introspective, navel-gazing questions, and that is the springboard for your messaging, your unique selling proposition, your brand position. And from there, I think the ideas flow on how you can then tell that story across media. But don't get overwhelmed. Start small, compartmentalize, small, simple steps lean you into taking greater steps later. It's like a workout. If you haven't worked out or hit the gym in months, what do you do first? Well, you just do simple things and then you build on it from there. And then next thing you know, you can't wait to go to the gym again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially as we're talking about holiday marketing tips, the holiday season is a big, busy time. And so trying to take on an entire new marketing strategy is probably not a great idea. So maybe finding a small strategic plan for this holiday season. Some of you probably already have one, but maybe from today's talk, you can take a couple takeaways and figure out how to implement those in incremental in steps. So that's a great takeaway. Thank you for that, Ron. Okay, my next question I ask all the guests on Quick Connect is, who's your favorite entrepreneur and why?
You know, I don't know that I have a favorite entrepreneur, but I'm a big fan of history, and I'll throw a couple names at you. There's a great book called The Summer of Beer and Whiskey, and it's about baseball in the 1880s. And there was a gentleman named Chris van der Aa, a German, who was a brewer in St. Louis, and he bought the St. Louis baseball team and built a stadium, not because he loved baseball, but he found it as a means to feed them beer and brats. So I look to people that are problem solvers. So others that I like, I'll say Steve Jobs, but not for the reason people might think. If you go back to say the year 2000 and you did a focus group of Sony Discman customers and you asked them, how do you like your Sony Discman? They'll say, oh my God, it's great. It's better than the Sony Walkman. I don't have these cassette tapes. I've got these CDs, which are great. They're clear. They're wonderful. These are great. If you listen to that, and if you're Sony, you said, I got it made. I don't have to improve this product at all. But as Steve Jobs said, well, what if you have this mini computer on your hip that has thousands of songs and you can shuffle and you don't have to carry a pack of CDs around with you? Same thing with the Henry Ford. He didn't create the first automobile, but he figured a way to mass produce it and to make it efficient and to make it affordable and to get it to everybody. You look at, I think it was it Rockefeller? I know I'm going to get this wrong. Not Rockefeller. It may be, I think it's Rockefeller that made a bet on kerosene and oil and said, you know what, this is the pathway to lighting. It's not candles. And he was a bit ruthless, but he also bet that that would be the thing that helps modernize the country. So to me, my entrepreneurs that I like are people that see a problem or anticipate a problem and solve it before it becomes apparent. Sorry, it's a little bit long-winded. I threw a couple things at you there. Maybe that's more than needed.
No, that's great. You know, I've been doing a lot of studying on entrepreneurship, obviously, with my position and being an entrepreneur myself. And I just came across something the other day about, entrepreneurs use entrepreneurship as a creative outlet. That's their artistry. How do they create things? How, and I thought that's it. That's exactly it. They're all artists. And I encourage you, if you're listening as a business owner, to take that into account, to make it your art, to make it an outlet for your creativity and how you can learn to do things better and different and just embrace that journey. So thank you. Yes, those are all great examples of very successful people just being creative. All right, so our last question for today before we finish up, and thank you so much for joining us today. We'd like to ask about small business experience, and this really leads into some of the things that we've talked about. Do you have a favorite small business experience you can share with us?
Yes. I'm going to give you a small business experience that wasn't a great experience, but I think it underscores a lot of what we've been talking about today so far. My wife and I wanted to get a new screen door for the front of our house. We went to a great reputable local business in our little town, picked the door that I wanted, even invited the owner to come see the door we wanted because we had the similar door on the back towards our deck. He looked at it, says, "Yep, I know what you're looking for." Comes time to install it. Installation, he sends an installer in that would not engage me, would not talk with me. I tried to create small talk, he would ignore me. He installed the door, left dirt, metal shavings, and scraps in my carpeting and on my porch that I had to clean up. Turns out he installed the wrong door. Through miscommunications, partly on my end, and I owned my part of the miscommunications on the door. The small business owner said, "You know what? I really didn't look at the door you showed me when I came over your house. Sorry, but I need you to pay me in full." And he owned nothing of the problem, owned nothing of the problem. He offered me some relief, but didn't tell me that I had a date or a deadline to help fix the issue, kept demanding full payment. I told him I will forego the 50% deposit, I will take the door off, and I will bring it to you. The end result is I went to another small business owner, got what we wanted, and paid 4 times more for a couple different products. So the lesson I have there is if problems happen, own them quickly, communicate. The path to solving problems often wins you many more customers. And in solving problems, you may find customers spending more money with you than they may have originally intended. So I don't know if that answers the question, but to me that highlighted some of the customer experience issues, problem resolution issues, communications issues that I think are vital for growing businesses to really forge strong emotional connections with their customers.
That's right on point. And I think every week we hear a kind of theme that it was all about the customer experience. And you have to be the first guest that brought up a negative experience. But I think that's important to note that, we won't always have great customer experiences, and how we handle those customer experiences to make sure that they, when something goes wrong, that it's taken care of in a manner that, that keeps that customer coming back rather than, having regret or buyer's remorse or things along those lines. So thank you for sharing that experience. I think that was a great way to highlight when things go wrong, how not to be. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think it's been a great talk for our audience to just get some tips on maybe doing things a little bit differently, or just really making some strategic shifts this holiday season, just to make sure that you're connecting with your customers, you have a solid process, you're out doing your competition. Lots of great tips. If you want to get in touch with Ron Wagner, I encourage you to go to LinkedIn and search him. He's a great asset to the marketing community. And so I thank you all for taking a look at him. We will be continuing our series next week on Quick Connect. We'll be talking about Small Business Saturday and just small businesses, and how to prepare yourself for credit card transactions, merchant services, what to look for, what risks there are. Also just talking to other business owners and seeing what they've learned through the holiday season and when they're accepting money, and maybe what's different this year as well with COVID. If you want to get in touch with the Small Business Development Center, our contact information is here. You can find us at sbdc.psu.edu. Also, our phone and our email are up there. We're not doing any consultations live. We're doing everything through Zoom. So that's a really easy way to get in contact with us. You can have a one-on-one consultation with a business consultant that really is really knowledgeable in your industry in business. And then finally, I encourage everybody to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We are constantly providing resources for our small businesses on how to connect and how to grow. We try to keep up to date with any COVID-related funding and other resources. So make sure you follow us on social media and get those resources there as well. Again, thank you all for joining us, and consider joining us next week at the same time. It's going to be at noon next Tuesday for another Quick Connect session for small business owners, specifically around Small Business Saturday and the holiday season. Thank you guys, and have a great Tuesday.
Thank you.